Now the problem, conventional allopathic medicine is completely locked into Newtonian physics. Doesn't even bring the mind into the concept of healing. Medical students get about 15 minutes in their entire academic career of a thing called the placebo effect. And the placebo effect is simply the mind can change the character of health. In other words, if you believe that this drug is the miracle drug you've been looking for and you take it, your mind believing it's the miracle drug can heal you, while the drug itself was nothing more than a sugar pill. Now that's an established fact. 1/3 of all medical healings are due to the placebo effect. Okay? It becomes very important. Well, we left something out of the picture in the education. Not that it's out of the picture in the research. The placebo effect is when you have positive thoughts and it generates a healing response. What they don't talk about in the books and in the general mass media is something called the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is the same as the placebo effect, except the thoughts are of a negative nature. And what's the point? It's thoughts that are powerful, whether they're positive or negative. And while we give attention to the positive thoughts, called placebo effect, creating healing, what we know and what we don't talk about is that a negative thought, which constitutes what is called a nocebo effect, is as powerful as a placebo, but in the opposite direction. A negative thought can not only make you sick, a negative thought can kill you in much the exact same power and using the same mechanism that a positive placebo thought can heal you. Psychologists tell us that 70% or more of our thoughts as conventional people are negative and redundant. Every day, 70% of people's thoughts are actually taking health away from their lives and actually bringing less quality to their lives, and they don't count it because it's just that little thought that runs in their head, and yet, scientifically, it's the equivalent of the placebo effect, but backwards. Medicine is not really the free avenue of research and investigation as we think it is. It is controlled by money, and unfortunately this is where the pharmaceutical industry has undue influence and keeps us from looking at healing that does not involve chemicals and drugs. Only for the simple reason is this: a pharmaceutical company makes money by selling chemicals. If we talk about how you can heal yourself with your mind, then that product doesn't sell very well. It's not in the interest of the pharmaceutical industry to support free energy healing, and therefore it's a subject that gets no coverage except for that 15 minutes on the placebo and then dropped out of the system, and yet it is the most important new understanding, and it's not new because it's 100 years old or more. It's new only because we're beginning to look at it in spite of the fact that drug companies don't want us to see it. It's not in the interest of the pharmaceutical industry to support free energy healing, and therefore it's a subject that gets no coverage except for that 15 minutes on the placebo and then dropped out of the system, and yet it is the most important new understanding, and it's not new because it's 100 years old or more. It's new only because we're beginning to look at it in spite of the fact that drug companies don't want us to see it. The problem with the concept of the power of positive thinking is people just think, oh, well, if I just have positive thoughts, then my life should be affected, and this is why positive thinking has a real bad rap in the public. Having a positive thought does not in any way necessitate that those positive thoughts actually manifest themselves. There's a piece that was left out, and if you don't understand the piece, then you're shouting into the wind with your positive thoughts. Nothing's going to happen. There's the conscious mind and what is called the subconscious mind. On a day-by-day basis, the subconscious mind runs our biology about 95 to 99% of the time. So while you're having all these wonderful thoughts, that's not the conscious mind's not running the show. It's a subconscious mind. The programs that we got, that's the source of the problems that most of us face. And these programs could limit our abilities and take away our powers, which essentially they do. Positive thinking is a creative thought that comes from the conscious mind. Okay, so I sit here and I'm going to have all these wonderful thoughts. I'm going to close my eyes and visualize all these wonderful things. Now stop and go back to the mechanical character of it. A, I'm having these thoughts with a little tiny processor called the conscious mind, and I'm competing with the programs that are in the subconscious mind. So if I have a thought for being healthy or being in a good relationship, and I'm doing positive thinking, And at the same time, I have acquired programs in my development that said, you're not as healthy as you think you are, and you're not that good a person to have those kind of relationships. Then look, I'm now pitting my positive thoughts against my programs, and they're opposite. But here comes the other part. While I can try to maintain positive thoughts in my life using my conscious mind, this conscious mind only operates less than 5% of the day. That says 95% or more of the day, I'm operating from the other belief system. Do the math. How powerful are positive thoughts? And the answer is, unless the subconscious has the same programs and agreement as the conscious mind, power of positive thinking will not work. It will not work because you're competing against a much more powerful processor. We do not see the subconscious when it plays. The subconscious has programs in it that we primarily got from other people in our development. And the significance about that is that if we are operating from this subconscious mind and not seeing it, then we're also not seeing that we're playing programs that may not be in any way supporting who we are and what we want. The only problem was, it was your own subconscious programming that led to the life that you have. And that if you can understand that, and then try to work with it, then you can change your subconscious programming and change your life. If you're sitting at the traffic light and you're waiting for the light and these thoughts are running through your head, you can start to listen to them. For a moment, stop and be analytical and listen to these thoughts, and you start to realize you're saying things, well, that won't happen, or I'm not that lucky, I can't get that, oh, she won't pay any attention to me. These are thoughts. And then realize, since these thoughts are programming the biology, and these are the thoughts that are just running like a faucet from your subconscious mind, you're actually hearing what kind of beliefs you're dealing with. And the first level of really owning the power over your life is to listen to these thoughts. Because if you listen to them, you're going to have to stop and say, my God, if I listen to all these thoughts, of course my life is not pretty. The subconscious is the driver until you own the responsibility to stand in the front, or sit in the front, put your hands on the wheel and drive the vehicle yourself. The moment you do that, you have power. The energy fields out there, our thoughts are the energy fields, so can we tap into it? In fact, if you're tapped into your thoughts, then you're already tapped in the energy field, because the thought isn't material or mechanical in the first place. It is the energy field. Once you own that these thoughts are important, and you can hear these thoughts, then you have access to say, well, wait a minute, I decide not to, I don't want to hear that thought. I want a different thought. And that's when your conscious mind steps in and says, give me the driving, give me the wheel. Because the subconscious has been driving the vehicle all this time. And most of us think our conscious mind's like a backseat, passenger watching this car go out of control from the back seat, screaming directions to the front seat, and the driver's not paying any attention.